Resto Druid DPS, True Balance Affinity, and Heart of the Wild, and Convoke the Spirit adds. Mouse, I'm doing a video! Come down in 30 minutes! What was I talking about? Hello guys and welcome to my continuous series, guys. We're doing the same dungeon just to see how every healer is going to perform, but it's Resto Druid time, guys, and this is a lot of people have been waiting for this one because, quite frankly, Resto Druid has been in a very solid position for a very long time in beta. A lot of people consider Resto Druid to be one of the best healers in Mythic Plus, and I probably would still stand by that, even though Resto Druid has received certain nerfs that Blizzard is targeting Resto Druids in Mythic Plus because they're nerfing their damage by 5% overall, and they nerf certain legendaries. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the legendary choices that I'm going to be using. I'll be talking about the overall, I guess, the overall feel of Resto Druid. Do I feel they're going to be strong? What are the advantages? At the end of the day, if you look at Resto in terms of what it provides, it's probably the safest healer to play, if I'm being very honest. In terms of utility, you have things like, you know, if you have Typhoon, if you spec into Balance Affinity, which has been a very popular choice. You have Soothe, you have Battle Res, you have Ursoc Vortex, you have like this, just like what don't you have type of deal. While a lot of other healers have to really contend with, you know, utility that might be great but not fantastic. And in terms of the legendaries, okay, Soothe, I need to soothe these bears because these bears are annoying. I'm gonna put Ursoc Vortex. I'm not sure if Vortex actually does work with them. Again, just generally speaking, a lot of utility. The main thing that changed for Resto Druids, I feel, is their DPS. The way that they deal damage with Heart of the Wild, with Convoke the Spirit, Night Fae is probably going to be the best. Night Fae in terms of Convoke the Spirit is looking to be very strong in terms of Covenants because it's so versatile. You can be in your Boomkin form and it's going to cast Boomkin abilities like Starfall. You don't have Starfall of Resto Druid. This is going to be really awkward, guys, you'll see. Because we're going to use proc Prideful, and everybody got hit by that. We're gonna use Convoke here for healing. We're gonna use Convoke for healing, guys. Prideful is going to proc after this, which is going to be fine. Again, I use Convoke the Spirits for healing. I usually save it for DPS because a lot of the times you might not need it. And I am using Balance Affinity. I wanted to showcase that there is a lot of annoying things to, like certain affixes like Stormwing and the Spiteful, that just are so annoying for melee. So we're just gonna pull Light Bloom on ourselves. We're gonna try not get hit. Okay, we don't want to hit anybody, we won't hit it here. We're gonna use, again, we're using Soul of the Forest, so now we have Soul of the Forest, we cast Wild Growth, it's empowered. Light Bloom on ourselves, because we're running Photosynthesis, it makes it tick faster. And basically, the legendary I'm running right now that is very strong in Mythic Plus, I feel is going to be the go-to. It's Circle of Life and Death, and I'm gonna refer to this as the Haste legendary because your damage over time effects deal their damage in 25% less time, and your healing over time effects in 15% less time. So it makes that your dots and hots basically heal faster or deal damage faster, and it just feels really good in Mythic Plus environment where resources are not that big of a deal because Prideful, again, I'm full mana. So now we're going to just apply our hots. We haven't used our Heart of the Wild because Heart of the Wild is a 5-minute cooldown. And I'm going to showcase a certain playstyle with Heart of the Wild where I'm going to proc Heart of the Wild. I'm going to use my Boomkin Affinity. I'm going to go into certain Solar Eclipse. I'm going to try and go into Solar Eclipse. Once I go into Solar Eclipse, don't die on me, Nature Swiftness. I'm going to go into Solar Eclipse and then I'm going to pop all my trinkets. And I have a lot of trinkets, guys. Unused trinkets right here. And then hopefully I'm going to go into Convoke the Spirit in Boomkin Affinity. And it's going to do a whole lot of damage. And because of my unused trinkets, this guy needs to run. These bears hurt for a lot. And because Convoke the Spirit and my unused trinkets, there's going to be a lot of damage. And this is what a lot of Resto Druids have been running right now. Because there is a combination of trinkets that I've been experimenting. These trinkets here don't incur a cooldown, even though they're unused trinkets. Which is really weird. If you have 2 unused trinkets, a lot of the times... Okay, I don't want to get hit here. Do I want to use Convoke the Spirit in terms of healing? I don't think I will need it. I don't think I will need it. I'll just keep Life Bloom on the tank. Again, Nature Swiftness is an awesome 1 minute cooldown that I'm really enjoying so far. It honestly feels really good. Resto Druids are now really losing a lot of things in Shadowlands. They're basically gaining certain abilities. They're gaining Stampeding Roar, which I can use as well. They're gaining things like Cyclone if you really want to optimize Cyclone. I haven't really done it a lot of the times. They're getting Nature Swiftness, which is a 1 minute burst cooldown. So technically speaking, you can look at Resto Druids and be like, how are they not going to be good at Mythic Plus? How is there, like, they still have all the utility, the damage has been nerfed, but because of the Convoke the Spirit, Night Fae ability, and Heart of the Wild burst combo, and an unused trinket, I want to call it manipulation, you can do a lot of burst damage. And this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and save my Heart of the Wild for that moment, because it is 5 minutes. It is a long cooldown, and we're going to use it on this boss, and hopefully it's not going to bug out. In terms of the legendaries that I find interesting in raid situations, there is a legendary that used to be a tier set, and a lot of people will refer to it as the Rejuvenation Spreader. And it's still looking very strong. Rejuvenation healing has a 2.5% chance to create a new rejuvenation on a nearby target. The proc chance has been recently buffed, making it a very solid choice in raids, and mainly because the best legendary that used to be Memory of the Mother Tree has been nerfed like 2 days ago. It used to be the go-to, now it's more situational. So now we still have to... Okay, they're going for this one. So you can see that Blizzard really doesn't want legendaries to be great in all of the environments. If you're doing Mythic Plus content, you might consider using the legendary that I'm using, the Haste legendary that makes your hots and dots deal the damage in less time. You might consider double Life Bloom legendary. If I were to talk about the double Life Bloom legendary, I would say Blizzard regrets adding double Life Bloom legendary, because they nerfed it. They nerfed it so many times. It's actually kind of ridiculous. And it's still completely viable in Mythic Plus environment. So I'm just gonna try not hit anybody here. I'm gonna go away, that's fine. I'm gonna try and deal a bit of damage. Again, there's not a lot of healing needed here. You can see. The guy got it. I can just put my hots, put my Sunfire. At the end of the day, Resto Druids have a really nice way of dealing damage with things like Sunfire. Sunfire is going to be your MVP because it requires 1 global cooldown and deals a lot of damage. 20 seconds before you're going to use your Heart of the Wild and Convoke the Spirit combo, I need to make sure I have the right Eclipse. I need to make sure that my trinket is primed and ready to give me the intellect. Again, it's going to be depending on what trinkets are going to be strong and what trinkets are going to be the go-to choices. But it's interesting. Like, again, I'm using a trinket here that I should have mentioned. I'm using a trinket here that requires me to fire these objects that go onto targets, they deal damage, and then they come back and give me intellect. And I need to make sure that I use that before I use my Heart of the Wild combo. I'm not sure if this trinket combo is going to be the go-to, but quite a few people have been using this and they received really nice results where they do a huge amount of burst. This whole combo of dealing damage only exists because of Convoke the Spirit. Convoke the Spirit from Night Fae, because Night Fae Covenant has been a very strong, and I didn't really showcase other abilities from Night Fae like the little blink, which again, Resto Druids don't need a whole lot of, if I'm being completely honest, Resto Druids don't need a whole lot of movement abilities, but why not? If Blizzard wants to give you more movement abilities, I'm not going to be against it. I will focus my Resto Druid Mythic Plus because I feel Resto Druid is going to be a good option for at least a character that's focusing on Mythic Plus. I'm still not sure how Resto Druid is going to fare in raiding situations. I'm not sure if it's going to be that mandatory. I'm going to be running Mythic Plus in terms of the legendary choices. I most likely will make Circle of Life and Death unless it's going to get nerfed or something. I'm going to go with Night Fae because I feel Night Fae has, or at least it's so versatile. The fact that Resto Druids have a Covenant that is strong for both raid and Mythic Plus is definitely a big blessing. Because most of the other healers have to either choose a Covenant for Mythic Plus or a Covenant for raids, and they have to decide, and they have to make sacrifices. So Resto Druid having Night Fae being like one of the big options is actually really nice. I need to heal here. I need to make sure. Okay, this is, again, I had Soothe available. We're using Convoke here to heal. We're using Convoke to heal. That was insane for a little bit. I was a bit scared there, guys, I'll be honest with you. I don't know who has it. This guy has it, it should be fine. Again, I'm using Soul of the Forest. I really enjoy Soul of the Forest. I think it's a fun talent choice, and I'm really happy that Soul of the Forest became the go-to. The fact that Soul of the Forest is making a comeback for Resto Druid because of the Swiftman changes. The fact that you have this new DPS rotation with Balance Affinity, and Balance Affinity being a big option because of how annoying it is to be a melee in Shadowlands. And now you have Heart of the Wild and Convoke the Spirit combo, and with unused trinkets, you can really get an in-depth look, or how do I say it? DPS for Resto Druid, or the burst DPS, feels relatively challenging and fun to master. It only makes me like Resto Druid more. I think Resto Druid is already one of my favorite healers in Mythic Plus, and not because it's insanely overpowered, but I feel like this is Resto Druid's home. I really feel that, and I'm going to say that multiple times. I feel Resto Druid was made for Mythic Plus. I feel the utility that it provides is actually insane. And I know a lot of people will consider Resto Druid probably to still be the #1 choice in Mythic Plus because the utility is there. Blizzard needs to like remove their mastery. They need to remove their utility abilities in order for Druids to be no longer viable or not optimal in Mythic Plus. And I don't think that's gonna happen. It's too late for this. So I think if you're actually going to try and optimize your Mythic Plus group, or try and push really high keys or want to push really high keys, I think Resto Druid is always going to be a good option for this. The fact that the utility was relatively unchanged, and on top of the versatility of Night Fae, versatility of Balance Affinity and affinities in general, is really cool. Okay, we're gonna try and do our burst damage here just to showcase some of it. And I forgot to use them, so we're gonna use our trinket, Sunfire, Moonfire, we're gonna go Starfire, we're gonna go into Heart of the Wild. We have Solar Eclipse right now. We're trying to get our trinket here in terms of getting our intellect. We got intellect. We use Convoke. Our trinket procced, we use intellect potion, and we're dealing damage. And now we're going Rat. We're going to have to heal here, unfortunately. But with this kind of combo, you can really, like I mentioned, it really depends on how much healing you need to do. You can move in time. You can go, the burst can be really high. Again, I'm not really optimizing it that well because I haven't played, I haven't tested this DPS rotation of a Druid in a long time, but you can do an insane burst with what I just did there in terms of certain trinkets, in terms of Heart of the Wild, in terms of getting in the right Eclipse, in terms of using your Convoke with something like your Intellect Potion. You can make a macro if you want. Like if you have Troll, if you're Troll, you can use the Racials as well to get even more damage. So you have this new build with Heart of the Wild and Convoke for DPS. We do this huge burst. It almost feels like Resto Druid is a DPS character for those couple of seconds when you're trying to burst it down. Because you have this priority list. Now, the priority list might change, there might be more improvements, and let me know if you know better ways of improving the burst damage of the Convoke the Spirit Heart of the Wild build. I think the new playstyle, or the new burst rotation, is really cool. On top of the insane utility that Resto Druid provides in terms of healing, and again, I feel Resto Druid is going to be a very solid option in your Mythic Plus groups.